Test, test, 1, 2. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, or should I say, Grüezi Mitnad, which means welcome in the Swiss German language, to our Sunday matinee contest on this weekend of USPBL baseball. My name is Rich Borland. I will be calling today's game solo as we're a little short on interns for the ball game, but that is A-OK. The Westside Woolly Mammoths and Eastside Diamond Hoppers are getting ready for some crosstown rivalry action. Last night, the Beaver Bombs were too much for the Unicorns and en route beat them by a final of 10-3. Mark Seiler earned his second win of the season despite hitting 5 batters, and then Kyle Oligus pitched well to start, but in the end would take the loss and drop to 3-2 on the season. Fast forwarding to today's game, it's Sunday Fun Day at the ballpark, and do we have a story to tell? So I aforementioned the Switzerland welcome, and I said it because we have 2 Switzerland pros joining us today as they will play on the Hoppers. The Swedish show Job Swap has reached out to the USPBL, and through conversation, Nico Lolio and Jack Kraft are playing in an Olympic-like sport called Hornissen. Roman Hugie and Christian Luthi have joined the Eastside Diamond Hoppers for today's contest and will be batting at the top of the lineup. The sport Hornissen, at first glance, appears to be a mixture of golf and baseball, and yet it is much more. It is a Swiss sport with a tradition reaching back to the 16th century and is played even today in South Africa as well. Throughout the game, I will give more background on the sport and these 2 gentlemen on the Hoppers who have been to America for less than a week but have already had a great time, but now the real test begins. As we look onto the pitching matchup for today's game, it will be Jake Angus of the Mammoths and Devin Alexander for the Hoppers, a rematch of the game back on June the 2nd. On the season thus far, Jake Angus with an 0-1 record, but a 1.76 ERA through 2 starts and 3 relief appearances. In the 15 1/3 innings he's pitched, he's allowed 3 earned runs on 11 hits, but he's had 12 walks to just 7 strikeouts. And then on the other end for Devin Alexander and the Hoppers, a 1-3 record with a 3.86 ERA through 6 starts on the year. He has 28 innings under his belt. He's allowed 12 earned runs in those 28 innings on 24 hits, while allowing 19 walks but striking out 35 in the process. So it looks as if we are going to just be getting ready to get underway with our national anthem. So we will head it down to the field, and when we come back, we will have first pitch here from Sunday Fun Day at Jimmy John's Field.
Ladies and gentlemen, as a sign of respect to our 2 Swiss players playing in today's game, please rise for the playing of the national anthem of Switzerland. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you remain standing. Please remove your hats. Veterans and active military may keep your caps on while rendering the hand salute as we honor America and our military with the singing of our national anthem, performed this afternoon by Aurora Zubal.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad
Well, how about that, ladies and gentlemen? That's how you start off a baseball game here on this Sunday. Not a big girl, but she's got a big voice, and that's how you start this one off. Once again, Rich Borland here with the USPBL YouTube channel, calling this one all on my own this afternoon. Sunday Fun Day at Jimmy John's Field. Westside Woolly Mammoths and Eastside Diamond Hoppers getting ready for action. Westside Woolly Mammoths coming into today's game sitting at 8-8. Eastside Diamond Hoppers just a game ahead of them, sitting at 9-7. Starting pitcher on the mound today for the Eastside Diamond Hoppers, it's Devin Alexander. Devin Alexander coming to us all the way from Concord, California, and Sonoma State University. Alexander, like we mentioned on the season, a 3.86 ERA through 6 starts and a 1-3 record. Let's quickly tell you the lineup that he'll be facing off against here for the Westside Woolly Mammoths. It'll be Jackson Smith, the catcher, leading off. Ethan Whisker batting second, the right fielder. Batting third, the first baseman, number 20, Jake Barbie. Batting fourth, the designated hitter, number 10, Tyler Pagano. Batting fifth, the second baseman, number 2, Jalen Lawson. And batting sixth, the third baseman, number 4, Andrew Dundon. Batting seventh, the center fielder, Drew Kitson. Batting eighth, the shortstop, number 15, Alec Allred. And rounding out this West Side starting lineup, the left fielder, number 18, Thomas Fiesel. So Devin Alexander, the left-hander, getting loose still out there on the mound. We mentioned a couple different times throughout the year in his starts how Devin Alexander had a great story coming into the season, and as a former college outfielder, Alexander actually took the road less traveled for a professional pitcher, acclimating himself to a more energy-efficient pitching motion, made room for that extra bit of leverage that he lacked when he first appeared in the USPBL, an increase in velocity as well as a higher DVS scored ensued. Alexander played first base at Diablo Valley Junior College and became a primary outfielder, transferring to Sonoma State University. However, he did appear in 22 games as a pitcher. His velocity was around just 84 miles an hour and topped out at right around 86. Now, from the left side, that's not that bad, but at a professional level, you're going to need a little bit more than just 86. And at this point in his career, his velocity was unknowingly limited to his mechanics. DVS certainly helped him, and now he has gotten up, counted 3.9 miles an hour in 6 weeks. This article came out, near the end of last season. So really, for Alexander, you can only get better from here on out. But it looks as if Jackson Smith's getting ready to stand into the batter's box from the left side, which means we are just about ready to get underway here. Gary Wagenschutz, our home plate umpire, behind the dish today. And we mentioned how there are 2 Switzerland players playing with us here at Jimmy John's Field this afternoon, both Roman Hughey and Christian Luthi, the starting right fielder and designated hitter today for these Eastside Diamond Hoppers. From left to right in the outfield, it'll be Johnny Knight the fourth, Cody Rudisili out there in center, and like I just mentioned, Roman Hughey in right. From left to right in the infield, we'll have Lance Montano over at third, the shortstop Kevin Watley, the second baseman number 2, Sebastian Diaz, and then over there at first base, number 1, Josh McAdams. Behind the dish today, helping out Alexander, is Thomas Lacongo. As we have a little delay here, we mentioned the Switzerland show called Job Swap is in attendance today. Nico Lolio of the Utica Unicorns and Jack Kraft of the Eastside Diamond Hoppers were sent off earlier in the week to Switzerland. We'll have a lot of video on our social media page talking about exactly what they've been doing over there. First pitch, meanwhile, here at 1:05 p.m., 66 degrees here in Utica, Michigan. Alexander starting off Jackson Smith with a ball, but the second pitch of the at-bat popped up, shallow left field. We saw both Kevin Watley, Lance Montano, and then finally Johnny Knight coming in. And in the end, Johnny Knight the fourth makes the correct play, calls off his infielders, and retires Jackson Smith here for out number 1. Westside Woolly Mammoths, like we mentioned, coming into today's game, sitting at 8-8 on the season. Eastside Diamond Hoppers looking to become the first team to score 10 runs, get to 10 wins here in this 2018 USPBL season. They were at 9-4 coming into the week, and sitting at 9-7, excuse me. They've lost a couple in a row, and As far as the Mammoths go, they've kind of gone back and forth throughout the year. Game of runs that this long baseball season can be. Ethan Whisker, the batter, swinging at that 1-1 offer, swinging right through it. Whisker having a tremendous season thus far at the plate and in the field for these Westside Woolly Mammoths, batting .323 in these 16 games. Mammoths in their Flintstone attire with the orange jerseys. Eastside Diamond Hoppers in their home whites. Alexander, the lefty, kicks, deals. That one missing outside. Looked to be the changeup with the 2-2 offer at the 86-mile-an-hour mark. And Whisker has worked the count full. Infield, outfield at normal depth. Payoff pitch in there at 88, missing high and away. A one-out walk is recorded. Whisker heads down to first. So now Jake Barbie stands in for these Westside Woolly Mammoths. Barbie's been playing first base in the last 4 or 5 games with these Westside Woolly Mammoths. He is, in fact, though, listed as a catcher and an outfielder, so a guy who can pretty much play any position you could ask. It says catcher, outfielder on the roster on our website, but like I mentioned, he has been over there at first base for the last few games with these Westside Woolly Mammoths. He's got 4 hits through 12 games, only a 114 average. He's done well in the field. He had a nice doubled off play the other night as this one's lined out to left field. Johnny Knight, the fourth, on the track, and he runs into the wall. That one's going to go down in the books as a double unless the tag is made, but sliding in safely to that bag is, in fact, Jake Barbie, and that's a one-out double for the 3-hole hitter, bringing up another threat in Tyler Pagano. That's a big shot right there from Jake Barbie, who definitely needed the hit. Had 8 strikeouts through his first 12 games. That was his second double of the season. 2 of his 5 hits have been for extra bases. And now Tyler Pagano making his way to the right-handed batter's box. And another one of these guys that's done well as of late. And if we count this correctly, Tyler Pagano has only not had a hit in 2 of his 16 games. Started the season off against the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers back on May the 15th as he looks at a called strike on the outside corner. But then once again on June the 2nd against these Eastside Diamond Hoppers against Alexander was another one of those games where Mr. Pagano had went 0-for-4. But other than those 2 games, he has safely gotten on base with a hit in 14 of the 16 starts. And if we count it right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. An 8-game hitting streak for Tyler Pagano. And in this 8-game hitting streak, he's done just as much as he could with the 1 hit in each of the 8 games. So no multi-hit games, but at least 1 in the last 8. We'll see if he can continue that streak here today. Alexander, meanwhile, trying to get out of this early first-inning jam. The 2-1 pitch brought in there just below 90 miles an hour. Swung on, fouled off by Pagano. Evens this count up at 2-2. Mentioned it's Sunday Fun Day at the ballpark. Our Neverland characters out in attendance, having a good time. Alexander, the 2-2 pitch. 2-seamer in there at 89 miles an hour. Missing high and inside. As the count once again reaches full. Second time we've seen that here today. The man who worked the full count first stands at third base in Ethan Whisker. Devin Alexander trying to not allow his second walk of the inning. This one won't be a walk. It's hit high and deep out to left field at the track, at the wall, and it ends up hitting the top of the fence and rolling over. A 3-run homer for Tyler Pagano. Count it his 4th of the season. The Mammoths take an early 3-0 lead. And you got a feel for Devin Alexander. That one just getting over the left field wall. Down that left field line, just 315. He hit that one about 40 feet to the right of that left field line, and it ends up just getting over the fence on a payoff pitch. Tyler Pagano takes full advantage of it and drives in 3. So what a start here to this one. Westside Woolly Mammoths trying to get above 500 As Jalen Lawson stands in here now, speaking of home runs, a guy who's got 2 on the season thus far, but what a day to start for Tyler Pagano. He continues his hitting streak and now leads this team with the 4 home runs on the year. Lawson looking at a couple of pitches, 1 for a ball, 1 for a strike. Alexander back out to work here, and the beauty of the game, as bad as it can go for you sometimes, you have to just keep on righting the ship and continue to approach these hitters just as aggressive as you would like. But that's got to be a tough start there for Alexander, allowing the 3-run homer. And not only that, but allowing one of the runs to come in to score on a base on balls. That's how the rally started with Whisker with 1 out here in the first. And that's where we still stand. The last 3 batters have reached base safely with the walk from Whisker, the double from Barbie, and then that 3-run homer from Tyler Pagano. If you're just joining us, once again, Rich Borland here on the call with you today. This one fought off to the right side. Nice diving stop by McAdams. We've seen him do it all season with the bat as he leads the league with a .410 batting average, but showing the leather over there on the first base side, comes up and makes the play for his pitcher, who ends up covering the bag to complete the 3-1 putout. Really nice job there from both of those gentlemen to get the out that they really needed. So now steps in Andrew Dundon. Dundon just joining these Westside Woolly Mammoths a few days ago. He's played in 2 games thus far. Did have a hit in his debut against the Utica Unicorns where he went 1 for 4. Did have a strikeout in that game as well. Looks at a couple of pitches here to start off his first at-bat. 1 for a ball and 1 for a strike. Alexander on the hill for these Hoppers, standing in at 6'4", man out of Sonoma State University with a rough start to the contest today, but we'll see how long Paul Nochi and crew allow him to go in this one. Hoppers won't be playing again until the following weekend, but I would imagine they'll let Alexander go as long as he can, barring how many runs he gives up in these first couple of innings. That one fouled off over to the right side. The count remains at 1-2 against Andrew Dundon. Dundon with just the 1 hit so far on the season, trying to get that average up as it sits at just 167 through the first 2 games. 1-2 pitch, breaking ball in the dirt. Good stop there by Thomas Lukongo behind the dish to keep that one in front of him. Count evens up at 2-2. Alexander, the windup, the pitch, fastball, hit on dead center field. Looks like Cody Rudisilli has a jump under it, makes the catch for the 3rd and final out, but a 3-run homer from Tyler Pagano has started this one off with a bang. We head to the home half. Mammoths out in front, 3-0. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland here with you. Westside Woolly Mammoths out in front early with that 3-run home run from Tyler Pagano in the top of the first inning. We head here to the home half. Eastside Diamond Hoppers with their first opportunity at the plate, and Speaking of first opportunity, we got Roman Hugie and Christian Luthi, the first two batters in this Eastside Diamond Hopper lineup. Two names that you're probably not familiar with, as these two gentlemen coming to us over all the way from Switzerland to Hornisson Pros. This sport, an Olympic-like sport over there in Switzerland. It's also played in South America. But these two gentlemen, as a part of a television show in Switzerland called Job Swap, those two guys coming over to America for the first time ever. And then, of course, the right fielder for the Diamond Hoppers, Mr. Jack Kraft, and then starting hitter and outfielder for the Utica Unicorns, Nico Lolio, is over there as well. Both of those gentlemen will be playing in a Hornisson match today. As we mentioned, Roman Hugie and Christian Luthi making their way to America, and we'll see the first action from both Roman Hugie and Christian Luthi. These two gentlemen making their baseball debuts. It's going to be a fun thing to see here. Not sure exactly what we're going to expect, but the beauty of the game, we'll see a little bit of unfamiliar action. And I was talking with the director. Hey, and look at that contact made on the 83-mile-an-hour pitch. He makes contact. It goes foul behind the netting, and he starts going to first base. It's something these guys will have to get used to. He's like, do I go? Do I stay? What exactly am I supposed to do here? But as far as Mr. Roman Hugie's concern goes, as he takes a cut at the 0-2 or the 0-1 offer, these two gentlemen playing on this team, their home team is called the Hornisser Gullschaft Horschenetten. I don't know if I pronounced that right. That was the best attempt I could make, and the best attempt that Mr. Hugie made right there. Swings and misses on two pitches in a row, but the swing and the miss records the strikeout, and now he'll hand off the piece of lumber to his partner over there from Switzerland, Mr. Christian Luthi. And what more can I say about this young man? Luthi, with a couple of records in the sport of Hornisson. He holds the all-time record with an 180-foot hit, which apparently is a gigantic amount of range for these hitters, as he takes a big cut and doesn't make any contact, though, on the first pitch he sees. It's Jake Angus out there on the mound for these Westside Woolly Mammoths, as that curveball gets away from him, misses the zone at just 66 miles an hour. But the team that they currently play on over there in Switzerland with the Hornisson team is currently the Swiss champion in their league, and they've also won 5 championships in the last 10 years. Something very, very cool to see. And supposedly Mr. Luthi, the man standing at the plate, is sort of known as the Lionel Messi of the sport over there. He's actually considered sort of a god-like figure over there in Switzerland for the sport. And I was told by the director of Job Swap that after home games in the league play, they don't get a lot of crowds, but they do have matchups sort of where, like in the Olympics, every 4 years, as Luthi looks at called strike 3 there for out number 2. These guys, every 3 or 4 years, sort of like the Olympics, have giant crowds similar to the Olympics where thousands of people show up and end up coming out and watching the sport that it is. But talking a little bit more about the physical sport itself, I talked about it a little bit in the pregame show, but how the game is played, the batting team hits what is called the nose, and as far as possible into the opponent's area. The defending team has to stop the approaching nouse as soon as possible by using a shingle or a catchboard. Usually 2 turns are played, and each turn, each team hits once and defends once. Each turn, every single player hits twice with 3 attempts, and a game has no set length, just like this great game of baseball, and it takes about 3 to 4 hours to play 2 bouts. The team with the smallest number of penalization points wins. An example, having the smallest number of failed interceptions. In addition to the team rankings, the Swiss champions and festive occasions also provide the ranking of individual strikers. So not sure exactly what all that means, but in the end, that's kind of how the sport works. And if you'd like to know a little bit more about it, go online, search the sport. It's spelled Hornussen, where the noose fly from the ramp and onto the playing field. Meanwhile, Josh McAdams, the man who leads this USPBL with a .410 batting average on the season, or excuse me, .385 average. It's gone down a little bit here this weekend, but McAdams with 20 hits in 52 at-bats so far this year, 4 doubles, 2 home runs, and 13 RBIs to his credit. That fastball at 88 miles an hour misses the zone high and away, and that's the biggest thing I've realized with Angus so far this season. that's the difference between being a perfect pitcher and a guy who's out there still trying to work on his stuff. You see when Angus does miss the zone, he misses by a lot, as that one is hit high and flied out there to right field. Ethan Whisker looks like he's got a beat under it, and he comes up to make the catch. A couple of strikeouts and a flyout and the threat for the Hoppers in the bottom half of the first. Mammoths take that 3-0 lead as we head to the second on the 3-run homer from Tyler Pagano. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland here with you. We head to the second inning here at Jimmy John's Field. Eastside Diamond Hoppers trailing the Westside Woolly Mammoths by a score of 3-0. If you're just joining us, Tyler Pagano with a massive 3-run homer back in that first inning. He drove in himself, Jake Barbie, and Ethan Whisker. Those two guys reaching on a walk and then a double. As back out onto the hill for his second inning of work is Devin Alexander. Alexander with, count them, 29 pitches in that first inning. He's going to have a quick second and maybe even third and fourth innings. He's going to want to try and make it through 5 to be able to possibly get in that win column. Of course, he'll need some offensive help as well. Kitson, Allred, and Fiesel due up for the Westside Woolly Mammoths here to start the second inning. Kitson on that 1-1 offer looks at a called strike on the outside part of the plate. Kitson out of Wentzville, Missouri, batting .220 on the season. His biggest moment of the year thus far, of course, when he made it onto SportsCenter's top 10 plays with that robbing of a home run catch. That was the first play that made it onto SportsCenter here this season with the USPBL. Found out recently our VP of Marketing, Mr. Scott McDonald, has quite the connection over there at ESPN, and that's why we've been able to get these plays onto SportsCenter. And you might have heard the name before, Scott Van Pelt, good friends with Mr. McDonald. And the count has rung full to Drew Kitson. The payoff pitch, it's hit high out there to left center field. Looks like it's going to be enough to stay in the park. Coming underneath it, in fact, is the center fielder, Cody Rudisilli. 1 up and 1 down for the Mammoths here to start the second. So Alec Allred now standing in for these Westside Woolly Mammoths. Allred, another one of these new faces with these Westside Woolly Mammoths. Mentioned how before last weekend, the USPBL making 16 additions to the league. Mr. Allred coming to us from Ramsey, North Carolina, and William Peace University. Looks at the first pitch, misses outside, gets ahead in this count early. On the year, just the one start for All Red. That was in the contest on Friday against the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers as he looks at a second consecutive ball. In that game against the Beavers, he did have 1 hit in 2 at-bats, did strike out in his other plate appearance. So not a bad start to the season, but he works this count 3-0 quickly against Alexander, who is not really being able to get ahead in these counts early and often. He retired Jackson Smith back to start this game on just 2 pitches, but then Ethan Whisker worked a full count. Tyler Pagano worked a full count before he hit his 3-run home run. Andrew Dundon ended the inning with a flyout to center field, but he also had worked a 2-2 count, and now Kitson with the full count swing and flyout to center field. Allred still working this count here against Alexander, and he ends up winning the battle. The payoff pitch ends up going in favor of Allred, so he reaches first safely, and Alexander already with 2 walks on the day in as many innings. So a little conversation on the mound as Thomas Lukongo heads out to talk with his pitcher. Boast of confidence is try and roll one up here. Got 1 out on the board. Tommy Fiesel, the batter, standing up for these Mammoths. He's definitely not the guy you'd want up at the plate if you're trying to, in fact, turn a double play. Fiesel with some of the most wheels on this Mammoth lineup. Looks at ball 1 that misses inside, and Alexander continuing to not be able to get ahead of these hitters. And that will eventually catch up to him as this one, 87 miles an hour in the top part of the strike zone. Fiesel makes contact but fouls it off. Count evens up at 1-1 here. But I mentioned how the 2 players from Switzerland making their debuts here at the USPBL, Roman Hugie out there in right field. We'll see if he gets any action in today's contest. Meanwhile, Cody Rudisili with a fly ball reaction out there in front of the track, makes the catch. He has recorded 3 outs so far in today's matchup. He's been busy out there all afternoon, and a guy who's got a lot of speed, a lot of talent. It's exactly who you want out there if you're Paul Nochi. And we head back to the top of this Westside order. Jackson Smith 0 for 1 on the day with that flyout to Johnny Knight IV. It started this baseball game off, but still waiting for that fly ball to right field, or we'll hopefully see Roman Hugie show some of his athleticism as he's ready for it out there. You see his hands on his knees, getting ready to jump into action. Smith, meanwhile, looks at the ball, misses the zone. The count 1-0 on the batter. Smith on that 1-0 pitch, looking at another one. This one misses low and in this time. Smith's been really batting well as of late. He's got 3 hits in his last 2 games. Went 2 for 5 in the game on Friday against the Beavers and had 4 RBIs as well in the process. So without a question, Smith coming off of his best game of the season. And we'll see if it can translate into today's matchup. Alexander, that breaking ball in there at 76, misses inside. And Smith has worked the count 3-1 now. If you're Alexander, you got to keep that pitch count down. Still a lot to go here. We mentioned he had 29 pitches in that first frame. This one fouled off, and the count now full on the batter, Smith. But for Alexander, as we add up these pitches here, already at 45 pitches here still just in this second inning. You wonder how long he will, in fact, be able to last. And something you don't see every day. I'm not sure if you can see it on our screen itself. You can't, but down in the right field line, there are, in fact, the 2 camera guys, and it actually right on cue, it goes right near them. That one going foul down the right field line. The producer and cameraman from the show Job Swap in Switzerland out there, filming all the action today, and they're getting right up close and personal. They are literally, ladies and gentlemen, down that right field line, just right of the foul line. Something you don't see every day, but they had to get out of the way of that one. The count's still full here on Jackson Smith. The runner, of course, will be moving. All red, no stolen bases on the year, but he's going towards second. But the breaking ball there from Alexander records the strikeout. That is strikeout number 1 on the day for Alexander, and that ends the second, or the top of the second, excuse me. We head to the home half. Mammoths still out in front by a score of 3-0. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland here with you. Jake Angus with a 13-pitch first inning, back out there for his second inning of work. He had 2 strikeouts to start the day and then got Josh McAdams, the batting average leader here in the USPBL, to fly out to Ethan Whisker to end the first frame. It'll be Lance Montano, Sebastian Diaz, and Kevin Watley due up for these Hoppers to start this home half of the second. And for a guy like Devin Alexander, the starter for the Hoppers on the mound, he could really use some offense to help out his rough start to the day. But Lance Montano, after looking at 2 straight pitches out of the zone, he swings right through the first strike of the at-bat. Montano coming to us from New York, New York, over here in the Midwest, playing some baseball in the USPBL. He ends up holding off on the pitch. It looked as if, but maybe that one was called a foul ball. I thought that he had held off, but it looks like he did in fact go around and ended up making contact with that pitch. So count now even here at 2-2 on the right-hander. Broken bat over there to the left side of the infield. Talk about a jam job. That one split the bat right down the middle. And Montano will have to pick up a new piece of lumber as that one skids just out of the way right of the foul line, right in front of that first base bag. Montano coming to us from Coppin State University here with these Eastside Diamond Hoppers through his first 3 games. Just the 1 hit in 10 at-bats. That was back on the 17th where he had a 1-for-4 outing against the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers. This is his, in fact, first game against the Westside Woolly Mammoths. So the first action he's seeing against Mr. Angus. Angus, like we mentioned earlier on in the pregame show, making his 3rd start of the season. As this one's popped up and out of play. But Angus with that 1.76 ERA in 5 appearances on the season. He's got 15 1/3 innings pitched, allowing just 3 earned runs on 11 hits, but 12 walks to 7 strikeouts coming into play today, a number that he's definitely going to want to turn around. This one, meanwhile, hit softly over to the left side of the infield, and then over there, Mr. Andrew Dundon tosses it to Jake Barbie at first. The 5-3 putout is recorded. 1 up and 1 down here for the Hoppers to start the second. Speaking of second, the second baseman, number 2, Sebastian Diaz, making his way up to the plate. Devin Alexander, who coming into today's matchup with 35 strikeouts, leading this Eastside team. He's got just the 1 through the first 2 frames. He had ended that second inning striking out Jackson Smith. Sebastian Diaz, meanwhile, with these Hoppers, looks at called strike 1 on the outside part of the plate. Diaz coming to us from the University of Miami, Florida, and Southwest Ranches, Florida. 185-pounder, playing in his 17th game with these Diamond Hoppers. The 0-1 pitch, outside corner once again, back-to-back pitches right there on the paint. Diaz quickly down in this 0-2 hole. Loving what we're seeing here from Jake Angus to start today's action. A man out of Orange County, California, the left-hander. He's a big fella, 6'7", 225 pounds. He's doing his job so far, and that one swung on and missed. Count it, strikeout number 3 on the day for Angus. 2 up, 2 down, and that'll bring up Kevin Watley. So now standing in, the everyday shortstop for these Eastside Diamond Hoppers, the man out of Port Orchard, Washington, Mr. Kevin Watley. Watley, just like Diaz, has played in every single game, and I believe has started every single game. These 2 guys up the middle, Watley at short and Diaz at second. That has been your bread and butter for Paul Nochi's crew. On the season, Mr. Kevin Watley, as he looks at the second pitch, back-to-back strikes, and Angus is dealing on that outside part of the plate against these right-handers to start the day. But on the season, Kevin Watley with 9 hits in 50 at-bats, 7 runs scored, 1 double, 1 home run. It was the Grand Slam variety. 7 RBIs on the season, but 18 strikeouts to just 7 walks. He'll want to change that correlation up, and then 3 stolen bases to his credit as well. But in order to get a stolen base, he'll have to get on base here. Looks at ball 1. Count now 1-2 on the batter. Angus, the lefty, the kick, the deal, the changeup in there at 77. Watley could not hold off, but that bat that got stuck out there for just a fraction of a second makes contact with that ball. Fortunate for Watley's sake, because if it did not make contact, he would have been called on going around right there. Angus trying to deliver his 4th strikeout of the day. The 1-2 pitch, fastball up and out at 89 miles an hour, evens the count up at 2-2. Mention how this is our Sunday matinee contest, Sunday fun day at our ballpark, like it is each and every Sunday here at Jimmy John's Field. Got Fairy Tale Entertainment in the house. This ball hit over to the hot corner, and a nice scoop over there from Jake Barbie at first completes the process, and that one is recorded. Back-to-back 1-2-3 innings for Mr. Jake Angus. He gets 2 groundouts to third and a strikeout there in the second, as we are through 2 here at Jimmy John's Field. We head to the third. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining in on this Sunday contest. Rich Borland here with you as we get ready to go here in this top half of the third inning through the first two frames. Westside with a commanding 3-0 lead off of that 3-run home run from Tyler Pagano, who drove in himself, Jake Barbie, and this man standing at the plate, Mr. Ethan Whisker. Whisker looking at back-to-back pitches to start off this top half of the third. Looks at one ball and then one strike. Whisker, one of those guys who I would say is probably the best definition of a five-tool player here in this league. He's one of the best and most attributed athletes here at the USPBL. He can pretty much, for the most part, do anything you'd ask. He's been the starting right fielder all season long for these Mammoths, but as far as hitting and fielding, just everything, speed as well, he has done it all for these Mammoths, and the reason he's batting in this two-hole, looks at the 2-2 pitch. That one missing high and away. Looked to be a breaking ball that simply just did not break. As this one continues on, we were wondering how the weather was going to be leading up to this weekend. Yesterday it was a threat, but in the end we ended up getting the game off, and we were wondering how it was going to be today. The forecast wasn't pretty coming into the contest last night. And the same thing goes for today, but it looks as if the weather gods will hold off for us on the weekend, and we're very thankful for that. Whisker, meanwhile, looks at his second straight walk to start today's contest. Really nice eye at the plate. He works a full count in both at-bats and ends up getting on base. We'll see if he comes in to score once again. Barbie, meanwhile, 1 for 1 on the day with a double, and he's going to be 2 for 2. A hard line drive right back up the middle. One hopping to that center field hopper, Cody Rudisilli. We're having sort of the same story being told that we did in the first. A leadoff walk for Whisker leading to a base knock from Barbie. And we'll see what Mr. Tyler Pagano can do as he's standing in the right side batter's box with a 1 for 1 day with the 3-run home run that was hit just on top of that fence in left field. It made contact with the yellow line that you see on top of the fence, and it just bounced right over. Even if it stayed in the park, if it makes contact with that yellow line, it is considered a home run. So Alexander with another tough battle here with 2 men on, nobody out. Same type of dilemma that he was in the first inning. Pagano looks at ball 1 to start the at-bat off. The man out of Pinkerington, Ohio, having a whale of a day. We'll see if it will continue. Already with an 8-game hitting streak as it kept on riding with that 3-run homer. That one a breaking ball in there, called for a backdoor strike. Alexander could definitely use a ground ball here. Mentioned how it's Watley and Sebastian Diaz up the middle. The 1-1 pitch to the designated hitter popped up. Looks like it's going to be enough to stay in play. Over there is McAdams. He comes up with it for out number 1, and it's a big out right there for Devin Alexander, as he will take any out he can get, as this day has been a little bit of an issue. He allowed 6 batters to he allowed 6 batters to have an appearance in the first, and then in the second, he allowed 4 batters. But the 4th batter coming up to the plate here in this third inning. A double play would be huge for Alexander as he's sitting at 58 pitches. Pitch number 11 of the inning coming up right here to Jalen Lawson. Lawson checks his swing, but it ends up going into fair territory. That one sort of an in-between ground ball where Josh McAdams and Devin Alexander having to communicate very quickly. Rash decisions were made, but a good job there from the first baseman and the pitcher to cover their respective areas. Saw McAdams end up calling for the baseball, saying he would get it. So Alexander, doing his job as the pitcher with those PFPs, runs down the first baseline, gets to the bag, and catches the out for out number 2. Runners, of course, moving over closer into scoring position. Over to third is Whisker. Over to second is Barbie. So your unofficial sacrifice bunt there for Jalen Lawson as he grounds out into the 3-1 put out 2 outs, 2 men on. Andrew Dundon stepping up to the plate here for these Westside Woolly Mammoths. Dundon, 0 for 1 with a fly ball to dead center field where Cody Rudisili came up with the inning-ending catch. We'll see if Dundon ends this third inning like he did the first. This one popped up, and look at that, right back towards home plate. Found the glove of Thomas Lucago, even though it fell right back out, but of course, with it hitting the net, automatic foul ball. Dundon, even in this count here at 1-1, the man coming to us from Lincoln Park, New Jersey. This wind starting to pick up just a little bit and blow right back towards home plate. The 1-1 pitch hit into that right center gap, and it's going to fall down. No fly out to center this time. Instead, it looks like it'll be, in fact, a 2 RBI single right there for Andrew Dundon. And that's his second hit of his professional career with these Mammoths, and a big one right there gives the Mammoths a 5-0 lead. So a tough day so far for Devin Alexander. As I finish marking up my scorebook, Whisker scoring for the second time today as well as Barbie. But for Devin Alexander on the season, his shortest outing was his first outing, his first start of the season back on May the 12th as he misses the zone there against Kitson. Back on that 12th of May against the Unicorns, he went just 3 innings, allowed 6 earned runs on 6 hits. Had 4 walks to just 1 strikeout in that contest. And then he's got 2 4-inning starts, one of them in his last outing on June the 14th against the Unicorns where he got the loss in the decision. He allowed 4 runs, but none of them were earned. Sort of an unfortunate circumstance in that contest. This ball hit down that left field line, but home plate umpire Mr. Gary Wagenschutz calling it just foul as he was right there. Stand up and he made his way towards home plate in front of the catcher Thomas Lucago to make the call, and it was a good one. It was just past that third base bag on the left side as Kitson will have to continue this at-bat as he's 0 for 1 on the day with that fly out to center. Kitson, like we mentioned, coming to us from Wentzville, Missouri. The swing and the miss, good enough for strikeout number 2 on the day for Alexander. He ends the third as he did the second with the strikeout, but 2 runs coming to score for these Mammoths in the top half of the third, and they take the 5-0 lead. We head to the home half. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland here with you, alone on the broadcast call today. Out there for his third inning of work, Mr. Jake Angus. Angus doing well thus far. Struck out 2 in the first, struck out 1 in the second. Coming up to the plate here in this third, the 7, 8, and 9 hitters. This one, a ground ball, a long ground ball over there to the second baseman, Jalen Lawson. He picks it up on 1 hop and retires Johnny Knight IV here for out number 1 on just 1 pitch. You got to love what we're seeing here from Jake Angus. I talked early how on the pitches that he was missing out of the strike zone, they weren't near the zone at all, and I was wondering if that was going to come back to haunt him where, of course, as a batter, the toughest part is trying to decipher whether the thing that's coming your way is going to hit the zone or not. And when it's a lot closer to the zone, even though it misses, it tends to make things a lot harder for these hitters. As you see that one, change up in there at 78 miles an hour. Gets enough of that outside black. Called strike here to Rudisilli. Rudisilli, our 1-800-Hanson's player of the game. If he gets a base hit, a fan out of the lucky section will get a gift certificate as the 0-1 pitch misses the zone away. Angus evens this count up at 1-1. Thomas Lukongo, the starting catcher for the Eastside Diamond Hoppers, due up on deck. 1-1 pitch, hit hard down that third baseline once again. And instead of a fair ball called, this one just foul. And the count now 1-2. The ball not hit as hard as Drew Kitson had hit it before he had ended the top of the third inning with a strikeout. But Rudisilli doing his job to try and put the ball between the lines. But instead, it ends up going just foul. Rudisilli batting .240 on the season. He's got 12 hits and 50 at-bats, 2 home runs with 8 RBIs. He has yet to face off against Angus thus far. Angus with the long set, the kick, the push, ground ball, right side. Lawson looking like he's going to make the first 2 outs of the inning, and he does. That one a more routine grounder as Rudisilli is retired. 2 up and 2 down here for these Hoppers in this home half of the third. And standing in now, the aforementioned Mr. Thomas Lukongo. Lukongo, the starting catcher for these Eastside Diamond Hoppers. Thomas Lukongo coming to us from West Falls, New York, and St. Bonaventure University. This ball popped up high, might get out of the field of play. You see Jake Barbie, well, you probably didn't see, is unfortunately our camera doesn't cover the entire field, but Barbie had reached about as far as he could have possibly went with that and slides into the wall over there down the first base line. So staying alive in the count is Lukongo. The 0-1 pitch, a breaking ball in there at 79 miles an hour. What a pitch right there from Mr. Jack Angus. Fixing the iris up a little bit as we speak. Looks a lot clearer now. As Lukongo trying to avoid striking out in his first plate appearance, but trying to throw his fourth strikeout of the day was Mr. Angus, but instead the first hit of the day for the Eastside Diamond Hoppers comes with 2 outs in the home half of the third. I was wondering how long Mr. Angus was going to go without allowing a hit. See if he would have been able to make it through the entire order at least once before allowing a hit, but Lukongo ruins that trend, and we head back to the top of this Birmingham Bloomfield, let's try that again, the Eastside Diamond Hopper starting lineup, and one of those guys coming to us from Switzerland. And if we say it correctly, it is Bader Kinfin. I hope that's pronounced correctly, but Mr. Roman Hugie stands in. Pitch in there at 82 miles an hour as he swings and misses at 2 straight. A couple of good cuts right there from the big fella, and he's trying to avoid going 0 for 2 on the day. And he makes contact. He puts the ball in play. You gotta love it. He ends up grounding out for the third and final out, but contact is made. You see a big smile from the big fella running down the line, big high five, and even though he won't get a base hit in the contest through the first 2 at-bats, he makes contact, which for my certain advantage, I would say that it goes down in the books just as well as a hit for that man here today in his last day in America. But we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we head to the 4th. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland here with you. Westside Woolly Mammoths out in front of the Eastside Diamond Hoppers. 5-0 through the first 3 frames. 3 runs in the first on the 3-run home run from Tyler Pagano. Drove in Jake Barbie and Ethan Whisker. And then both Whisker and Barbie scoring once again in the 3rd on a 2 RBI base knock from Andrew Dundon. And that has been the only scoring so far in this one. Hoppers, of course, trying to get their first runs of the day. They'll have the 2, 3, 4 hitters due up in the home half of the 4th. Alec Allred, the batter for these Westside Woolly Mammoths, standing in. The 8-9 one-hitters due up to start this top of the 4th inning. Alec Allred on the day reached in his first plate appearance on a base on balls, but could not get any further than first base. Allred with 2 hits through his first couple of games here with these Westside Woolly Mammoths. Takes a cut, fouls one off. That one into the protective netting behind home plate here. Westside Woolly Mammoths coming into today's game at a .500 rate of 8-8. Eastside Diamond Hoppers at 9-7, trying to become the first team to 10 wins, but they'll need a lot more runs, and they'll have to slow down these Mammoths if they're going to want to turn the tide in this contest. But 3 strikeouts on the day now for Devin Alexander. Alec Allred swinging and missing on the 1-2 offer. Thomas Fiesel coming up to the plate with an 0-for-1 day. He flew out to Cody Rudisilli for the second out back in the 2nd inning. But Alexander, you wonder how much longer he will in fact go. He had 66 pitches through the first 3 frames and 70 pitches now as Fiesel stands in from the right side. Takes a cut, can't hold back, and will go down in this count here 0-1 to start. Fiesel, former football player, was a stud in high school, broke a lot of records in his time, and then went on to take his talents, played at Northwestern as well. Ended up getting 5 concussions in the process of playing football, a couple in high school and a couple in college as well. Found out he had a issue with some of his nerves in his brain, and fortunately, with testing with those concussions, he had found that out. And look where he is now, transitioning into this great game of baseball and playing at the professional level, playing with his second season here with these Westside Woolly Mammoths. Fiesel on the 0-2 pitch, a nasty changeup in there at 74 miles an hour. Back-to-back strikeouts here for Alexander to start off this fourth, and a really nice changeup forces Fiesel to chase after one. 2 up, 2 down quickly to start this fourth, and back to the top of the Westside order we go. So Alexander looking for his first perfect inning. He could strike out the side for the first time all season if he retires Smith here via the swing and miss or the look. And he's on pace to do one of those two as Smith follows off the second pitch. And quickly he's down in the count here 0-2, trying to avoid his second strikeout of the day. Flew out to left to start the game and then struck out to end the second. On the verge of doing the same thing here in the fourth as that fastball in there at 88 miles an hour misses the zone outside. Good eye there by Smith to allow this battle to continue. Infield, outfield at normal depth, wind blowing in and to the right a little bit. This one, though, hit to the left side down that left field line. Johnny Knight, the fourth, coming underneath it. He took a long route to that one, but ends up catching the ball for the third and final out. A 1-2-3 inning there for Alexander, and boy, was it needed. We head to the home half of the fourth. Mammoths out in front, 5-0. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland here with you. We head to the home half of the fourth inning. It's Christian Luthi, one of the two Swiss Hornison players coming to us here this weekend from Switzerland as a part of the Job Swap TV show over in Switzerland. Luthi, meanwhile, down in this count quickly, 0-2. Angus looking for, counted his 4th strikeout of the day. And the 0-2 pitch, swung on and missed, fastball high and away. Luthi goes down via the swing and the miss. 2nd strikeout of the day for him as he has a big smirk, gives a fist bump to his first baseman, Mr. Josh McAdams, and that's the beauty of it. The fact that they're over in America playing in this game of baseball, something they're clearly not used to. It's a unique situation, and he's actually talking with the camera guys, going back towards the third base dugout, and we've had a camera crew on site all weekend long, and they're moving around on the field here today as this one, Josh McAdams was ready to take over that left field wall, maybe even the scoreboard. Takes a big cut, but gets nothing on it. That breaking ball from Angus was lethal as McAdams, our beer batter of the game. If he gets a hit, fans during this inning will be allowed to get $5 craft beer specials over down that left field line in our short hops area. McAdams looks at ball 1 to even this count up at 1-1. 1-1 pitch, missing outside. And we talked about these Swiss players coming to us from the great league of Hornison, which we mentioned is sort of that combination of golf and baseball and even a little bit of shot put, as it's a little puck that sits upright on a platform, and you got to take this club where it looks sort of like a combination of a baseball bat and a golf club and a field hockey stick, and you got to spin around, make contact with the ball, hit it in the field of play. And when Hornison was first played, it was mainly a game for young single farmers, believe it or not, as McAdams looks at ball 4, reaches base safely for the first time today. Hoppers with the base runner here in this home half of the 4th inning, just their 2nd base runner that they've had all game long. But back to this Hornison conversation. When Hornison was first played, like we said, it was mainly a game for single young farmers. They met in the late summer and autumn to play in harvested fields against farmers from other villages, and it was reported that such events enabled players to pit their strength against each other to regulate disputes between villages, believe it or not. And despite playful attempts at arbitration, the Hornison games were often followed by wild brawls. The first written records of the Hornison are found in church records from the 16th and 17th century, and the first known competitive Hornison games took place in 1655 in Trube. In the late 19th century, a Hornison association was in fact formed and rules were set, and in 1902 the national governing body was founded. The National Association and its regional sub-organizations organized the championships for the various leagues, the 3 yearly National Hornison Festival, and the Hornison matches at the National Wrestling and Alpine Festival, as well as others. But swinging and missing at that pitch was Lance Montano. He's going down in the count for, count it, the 5th strikeout of the day for Mr. Angus. And Hornison today, it's mainly played in the Midland cantons of Bern, Solthrum, and Argyle. Hornison enjoys popularity to this day, and despite the huge range of different sports to offer, it's a great success. A success also explained by the close links between the sporting and traditional elements. In 2011, there were around 270 Hornison groups with some 8,300 players organized in 4 special purpose associations and the societies affiliated with the national governing body. Just a little bit more background information on this great sport of Hornison. Sebastian Diaz, the batter. The 0-1 pitch swung on and missed, and quickly Diaz finds himself in an 0-2 hole. Sort of the same situation that Montano and Luthi had seen here in this 4th inning, and Angus will continue to just dominate these Eastside Diamond Hoppers midway through his 2nd time through this Eastside order, and he has not fallen off the trend of strikeouts here. 2 in the 1st inning, 1 in the 2nd. He did not get any strikeouts in that third inning, but he got 3 groundouts as well as allowing his first hit of the game to Thomas Lukongo. But a strikeout to Luthi, and then Montano have given the first 2 outs in this inning. A breaking ball that sat in the middle of the zone cannot be taken advantage of, and instead Diaz grounds out to third for the third and final out. We head to the 5th. Mammoths out in front 5-0. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland here with you. We're through 4 innings here on this Sunday Fun Day matinee contest. Devin Alexander's day is done. He goes 4 innings, allows 5 earned runs on 4 hits, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts for him in the contest. Logan Gillespie, the new arm on the bump for these Eastside Diamond Hoppers, the 6'2", 210-pounder out of Bakersfield, California, and Oxnard College, stands in at the bump. 9 relief appearances on the season for Gillespie. He's got a 2-0 record through 18 innings pitched. He's allowed 15 hits, and count it, looks like maybe hit number 16 allowed. Count it right there. Rounding first, heading to second is Whisker. He has yet to have been stopped. 2 walks, 2 runs scored, and now a leadoff double here in the 5th. The Mammoths continue to stride here offensively. So Gillespie, like I mentioned, coming to us from the California Community College Baseball Association. And Gillespie, believe it or not, was a position player there. He had played in 36 games, had a .265 average in those 36 games played, 2 home runs, 18 RBIs, and 13 runs scored, as well as 2 stolen bases. And then as far as pitching goes, he actually only had 1 relief appearance, and in that appearance he allowed 1 run on 1 hit and 1 walk. And this ball getting away from the catcher, and look at that, Ethan Whisker picking up on it. There was no foul ball called, and in fact, hold on, ladies and gentlemen, we might be having a runner go back, or maybe not, as our home plate umpire, Mr. Gary Wagenschutz, having a conversation with the catcher, Thomas Lukongo, and now, of course, Paul Nochi, the manager of the Diamond Hoppers, going out to try and plead his case. But Whisker had made it all the way into score from second base as that ball got away from Lukongo. I wasn't really sure where it went. And now the umpire is having a conversation as Barbie, in fact, did get hit with the pitch. So I believe Whisker will have to come back to second base, as now Shane McCaddy, manager of the Westside Woolly Mammoths, will try and counter Paul Nochi's argument, but it looks as if the base umpire did in fact see from the field of play that Barbie had in fact gotten hit with that baseball. So in the end, he reaches for the third time today. Both him and Whisker having quite the day so far, as Whisker stays at second. Barbie reaches first with that hit by pitch. And for the third time today, Tyler Pagano will come up to the plate with these two men on base. Pagano 1 for 2 with a 3-run homer back in the first, and then popped out to Josh McAdams in the third. Gillespie, like we mentioned, the new pitcher here for these Diamond Hoppers, and for the second time today, Mr. Pagano will pop out to McAdams. Another big out right there recorded here defensively for the Hoppers, as the first two men had reached safely, and they got lucky there as that ball had hit Barbie instead of allowing Whisker to come in to score. But the second consecutive pop out for Tyler Pagano records the first out of the inning. And now Jalen Lawson will stand in. Mentioned how Logan Gillespie, former position player turned pitcher, with an even 2.00 ERA coming into today's action with the 9 relief appearances. His longest outing of the year, he's had 2 of them, 3-inning affairs back in his first outing on May the 12th against the Unicorns, and then his most previous outing on June the 17th against the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers, where he had allowed 3 earned runs on 6 hits. His only 3 earned runs on the season outside of the first start. This one popped up and over my head in the press box, over to M59, as Lawson evens this count up at 1-1. But Lawson on the day, 2 ground outs, both to Josh McAdams over there at first base. Hoppers could really use a ground ball here with just the 1 out and 2 base runners on. The Mammoths continuing to try and add on to this lead. If you're joining us mid-game here, the Mammoths with 3 runs back in the first inning on a 3-run homer from Tyler Pagano, and then they got their 2 runs on a 2 RBI base knock from Andrew Dundon back in the 3rd inning, who drove in Whisker and Barbie, who currently stand on the base pass. That breaking ball falls in for a called strike. Lawson not a fan of it, but he simply just got beat. A lot of late breaking action on that pitch from Gillespie have Lawson down in this count 1-2. The man out of Troy, Alabama, trying to widen this Westside lead. The wind blowing in towards home plate, and there once again was that breaking ball. A better job this time by Lawson to recognize it and keep himself alive here in this count as he fouls it off to the right side of the foul territory. Mentioned a couple different times how this foul territory is sort of reminiscent of the Oakland Coliseum, where the Oakland Athletics play. A lot of area in foul grounds for plays to be made. We saw one here today from Jake Barbie back in that first inning. This one called strike on the outside, Black. A 94-mile-an-hour fastball retires Lawson for out number 2, and that one was a perfect pitch right there from Gillespie. And he's doing a good job limiting the damage after allowing the leadoff double from Whisker and then hitting Jake Barbie with no outs. But since then, the pop out to first and then that strikeout looking have retired the 4 and 5 hitters for these Westside Woolly Mammoths. But the man who drove in the 2 men on the base pass in the 3rd inning, Mr. Andrew Dundon, stands in here now, 1 for 2 on the day with that 2 RBI single. Looks at called strike 1 to begin his 3rd at-bat on the day. First time facing off against Logan Gillespie this season. I take it back. He's actually 1 for 2 on the season against Gillespie. Dundon looking for his 2nd hit of the season. Runners on first and second. 0-1 pitch. Once again, painting the black is Gillespie. And I'll tell you what, when he finds the groove, he's tough to get out of. He's been one of the most efficient pitchers this season for Paul Nochi and company. Most of his outings are short, 1 or 2 inning affairs, but outside of 2 of his 9 outings on the year, he has not allowed any runs in those contests. So 7 for 9 without allowing any runs. It's a recipe for success. Mentioned the 2.00 ERA and then the 1.22 whip coming into action today. He's got double the amount of strikeouts that he does walks, and in fact, even more so now with the strikeout to Jalen Lawson here in the 5th. Breaking ball, slider in there at 80 miles an hour, just off the plate. Really nice eye there from Andrew Dundon to not make contact and try after that one. Would have probably gone to the right side of the infield for a soft ground ball. Gillespie comes set, gives no look to either of the base runners, but he doesn't need to, as that one swung on, missed, and going to first. Over there is Lukongo to McAdams. The strikeout is completed. We head to the home half of the 5th inning. Mammoths remain out in front by 5. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland here with you. We're through 4.5 innings of play. Eastside Diamond Hoppers trailing the Westside Woolly Mammoths 5-0 as we get ready for Jake Angus's 5th inning of work. It'll be Kevin Watley, Johnny Knight IV, and Cody Rudisilli due up, the 6, 7, and 8 hitters here for these Hoppers. Angus, meanwhile, with 56 pitches through the first 4 frames, 4 strikeouts and 1 walk. He allowed his first walk of the game to Josh McAdams back in the previous 4th inning. Watley, meanwhile, after looking at called strike 1, hits a high foul ball, and it ends up getting out of play and into our grandstand, so a lucky fan getting a souvenir. Watley on the day 0 for 1 with a ground out, hit it over to the 3rd base bag where Andrew Dundon stands. Dundon ended the top of the 5th inning with that strikeout. But a good day so far for Jake Angus. He's been the story outside of Pagano's 3-run homer in the 1st inning. Breaking ball left right over the heart of the plate, but on that 0-2 pitch, Watley can't take full advantage of it. Rolls one over to the 3rd base bag, and for the 2nd time today, grounds out to that 3rd base area. 1 up and 1 down here for the Hoppers to start this home half of the 5th inning. Johnny Knight IV coming up to the plate, also 0 for 1 on the day with a ground out over to 2nd base. Johnny Knight IV had a really good start to this season offensively. He slowed down just a little bit, but overall still playing well. This ball popped up on the first pitch he sees over to that 3rd base bag, and Andrew Dundon's been pretty busy over there at the hot corner. He's had, let's count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5 plays where he has had to retire the batter. Back-to-back groundouts to Dundon have retired the first 2 batters for the Hoppers here in the home half of the 5th inning. Cody Rudisilli 0 for 1 on the day with a grounder to Jalen Lawson. Both him and Johnny Knight IV led the 3rd inning off with 2 grounders to the right side, and then Watley and Knight here with 2 groundouts to third base. Cody Rudisilli standing in, looks at a called strike 1 to begin this at-bat. One-0 pitch, called strike right down the heart of the plate by our home plate umpire, Mr. Gary Wagenschutz. Cody Rudisilli coming to us from Jupiter, Florida, out of Wofford College, playing in his 14th game here with these Eastside Diamond Hoppers as he looks at ball 2 here. Our 1-800-Hanson's player of the game without a hit in his last 2 outings, but his last game against the Westside Woolly Mammoths, he in fact went 0 for 4 with 1 strikeout. The 2-1 pitch from Angus, ball that misses high and away, and we saw through the first 3 innings, Angus had allowed just the 1 hit, no walks, and had 3 strikeouts, but in the 4th inning, he had 2 more strikeouts and then ended up allowing 1 walk. So 5 Ks on the day for Angus, but he allows his 2nd base on balls. Rudisilli reaches with the 2-out walk, and that'll bring up the number 9 hitter, Mr. Thomas Lacongo. Lacongo with the only base hit for these Eastside Diamond Hoppers in this contest. He has been the kryptonite to Mr. Angus. Lacongo with that single up the 5-6 hole back in the 3rd inning has been the only hit for the Hoppers today. This one looks like it will find some leather out there to center field. Drew Kitson underneath it makes the catch for out number 3. Hoppers still with just the 1 hit through the first 5 frames. Jack Angus is cruising, and we head to the 6th inning. They lead it 5-0. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland here with you. Westside Woolly Mammoths out in front of the Eastside Diamond Hoppers 5-0 as we head to this 6th inning here on our Sunday matinee contest here in our 6th weekend at the USPBL's 2018 season. Drew Kitson, Alec Allred, and Thomas Fiesel due up to start this top half of the 6th inning. 3 runs in the first, 2 runs in the third. That's what we've seen thus far for these Mammoths. The 3-run homer from Tyler Pagano in the first, and then the 2 RBI single from Andrew Dundon have driven in the runs of the game. Kitson works the count 1-1. Out there for his second inning of work, Mr. Logan Gillespie allowed a double and then hit a batter, but then recorded 3 straight outs to the 4, 5, and 6 hitters, Pagano, Lawson, and Dundon, back in the 5th inning, and escaped the jam, kept the Mammoths off the board, and did a really good job as the Hoppers are still looking for their first run of the game, but they have not been able to answer Jake Angus. And we'll see how the rest of this one pans out, and you wonder how long of the leash Angus will get. I talked with Evan Trout, one of the player personnel staff here at Jimmy John's Field, and he had said that Angus really doesn't have a limit, but they're going to try and get some of these other pitchers some work. But with as well as he's pitching, it'll be hard to take him out. Meanwhile, Kitson on the 1-2 effort swings and misses at a fastball high and away. That's the 3rd strikeout already here in just 1 1/3 innings worth of work for Mr. Gillespie. He struck out the last 3 batters he's faced. So now Alec Allred standing in, 0 for 1 on the day, looks at ball 1 to start this at-bat. Reached on a walk back in the 2nd inning, but couldn't come around to score. Swung and missed for a strikeout back in the 4th inning. Gillespie kicks, deals, fastball in there at 94 miles an hour. Another one of these hard-throwing righties for these Eastside Diamond Hoppers. Called strike on the outside black. Evens the count up at 1-1. Allred coming to us from Ramseur, North Carolina. Breaking ball in there at 81 miles an hour. Misses inside. Count goes in favor of Allred here. It's 2-1. Two-one pitch. Another one that was outside. Might have been a strike if Allred had not swung at it, but he fouls it off and out of play over to the grandstand seats, where another fan will get a lucky souvenir. Crowd getting into it a little bit here on this Sunday contest. Hoppers trying to get back in this game, but they only have so many at-bats as we're about halfway through this one. The 2-2 pitch chopped back up the middle. Easy play there for the pitcher, Logan Gillespie. Like I mentioned, former position player at his community college back in the day. But he has transitioned into that pitcher's role, and he has found a home for himself out there on the hill. Doing really well as he gives a smirk back to his bench over down the 3rd baseline, as somebody probably cackled his way and gave him some words of encouragement, of course. But either way, he makes out number 2 uncontested. The 1-3 put out, good enough for out number 2. And now Thomas Fiesel stands in, the number 9 hitter for these Westside Woolly Mammoths. He's 0 for 2 on the night with a fly out to center and a strikeout. 1-0 pitch, chopped, left side. Going to be a tough play for Lukongo, and in fact, so tough that he won't be able to make it. That one hops underneath the glove, and sort of that in-between hop plays Lukongo, and in fact, they'll mark it down in the books as a hit. He went on a running start, but could not time that grounder perfectly, and because of it, the runner gets on base safely here with a 2-out single. Fiesel reaches for the first time today. So now Jackson Smith back to the top of this Westside order we go. Smith 0 for 3 on the day with 2 flyouts to left and then a strikeout back in the 2nd inning. An opportunity with a runner on base for the first time today for Smith. The count 0-1 on the batter. Gillespie trying to end this inning. That one missing outside. Throw off the knees and in time. How about that? Thomas Lukongo. Not only does he have the only hit of the day for the Hoppers, but he just threw out a speedster and Thomas Fiesel off of his knees. That's really great stuff right there from the catcher of the Hoppers. And we're through 5.5 here at Jimmy John's Field on this Sunday contest. Hoppers still trail 5-0. They'll have the top of the order coming up to the plate when we come back. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Rich Borland here once again with you on the USPBL YouTube channel. How about the day Jake Angus is having? He has allowed just the one hit through the first 5 frames. Came back in the 3rd inning when Thomas Lukongo in his first at-bat in the 9th spot of this order hit a 2-out single. But 5 strikeouts, just 2 walks allowed. Patrick Adams pinch hitting for Roman Hughey. Mentioned how we had the 2 Switzerland Hornison players playing with these Eastside Diamond Hoppers as a part of the Switzerland TV show Job Swap. Cool experience that we were able to experience throughout the weekend here at Jimmy John's Field. We sent off Nico Lolio of the Utica Unicorns and Jack Kraft of the Eastside Diamond Hoppers over to Switzerland, and I believe that they're playing or had played in a contest of Hornison here today over in Switzerland. Excited to hear about how that went for those 2 guys as they'll be making their way back to America later on tonight or tomorrow as we see another pinch hitter in for these Eastside Diamond Hoppers. It was Mr. Patrick Adams who had came in to bat for Roman Hughey. He is on first base now with a leadoff single. It blooped over the left field area, and right on cue, the exact same situation for Cameron Coons, who pinch hits for Christian Luthi. And the 2 guys who had been 0 for 4 combined with 3 strikeouts and a ground out from Hughey and Luthi out of Switzerland. They get pinch hit for both here in this 6th inning, and back-to-back singles have recorded the first 2 base runners here for these Eastside Diamond Hoppers. And Jake Angus, who, like I mentioned, just allowed the 1 hit through the first 5 innings, allows back-to-back singles here from Adams and Coons. A couple of guys who are getting loose out there on the base pass with back-to-back singles on the first pitch that they saw. And speaking of trouble, standing up at the plate here for these Hoppers now, the man with the best batting average out of anybody in the league through 16 games, Mr. Josh McAdams, with a .385 batting average through 52 at-bats, and he hits one over to that 5-6 hole once again. Rounding third, thinking about home was Adams, but he will stay patiently over at third base. Back-to-back-to-back singles, all in the same direction for these Hoppers. Have loaded them up, and they continue to threaten here in this bottom of the 6th inning. Tying run now on deck, and coming up to the plate, the third baseman, Lance Montano. So a meeting of the minds on the mound. You were wondering, now third time through the lineup. Of course, the two pinch hitters seeing Angus for the first time today, but McAdams seeing him for the third time. He had reached on a walk back in the 4th and hits that no-out single to load the bases here. Lance Montano with a tremendous opportunity to cut this Westside lead in half. But a big spot for Angus as well. Infielders playing at normal depth, so they're not looking for the double play. Or excuse me, they're not looking for the force out at home. They are, in fact, playing the double play. Infield, outfield at normal depth. Lance Montano standing in for the third time today. Looks at ball one to begin this at-bat. 0 for 2 with a ground out to third base and a swing and miss strikeout on 3 pitches back in the 4th. After looking at ball one, here to start this at-bat, here comes the next one. In there at 86 miles an hour from Angus, swung on and missed. Evens this count up at 1-1. Wind picking up just a little bit, blowing towards home plate and into this press box here. Nice little breeze. Bases juiced. Angus trying to get out of this early jam in this 6th. No outs, 3 runners on. Grounder over to third base, over to second to Lawson, over to first, and a 5-4-3 double play is recorded. That's, of course, your Trico double play. Diamond Hoppers do get their first run of the game, but the runners at first and second are retired. And for the 1 run the Hoppers get, the Mammoths will take the 2 outs as they still lead it here by 4 runs. Adams comes in to score the first run of the game for the Hoppers. Cameron Coons gets over to third base, but McAdams is retired via the 5-4 put out, and then the 5-4-3 double play retires Lance Montano for out number 2. Sebastian Diaz, meanwhile, stands in here. 0 for 2 on the day, a swing and miss strikeout back in the 2nd inning, and then he reached on a fielder's choice that ended the 4th when McAdams was put out at second base. Diaz with 16 hits coming into play today. .262 average with 2 home runs, 12 runs scored, 7 driven in. The 0-1 pitch, fastball outside corner at 88. Back-to-back strikes called right here. Diaz not a fan of that last one, but it was close enough. Got to protect anything close, and especially now with 2 strikes here, going to want to be even more protective, going to that 2-strike approach as Angus comes set, delivers fastball inside corner this time. It's dropped by the catcher, Jackson Smith. I saw a little flinch right there from our home plate umpire, Mr. Gary Wagenschutz, and it looked like he was ready to ring up Diaz, but that drop strike, of course, changed his decision quickly as Diaz ready for the 1-2 effort. Angus brings that leg up, brings it in, pops up over to the right side. Will it be Lawson or Barbie? Instead, Lawson calls off his first baseman, and that will retire the Hoppers here in the home half of the 6th, but they get a run on that single as the 5-4-3 put out was recorded, and then that pop out to Jalen Lawson records out number 3. We're through 6 here at Jimmy John's Field. Mammoths out in front by 4. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland here with you. We're through 6 innings at Jimmy John's Field. It'll be the top of the order due up for these Westside Woolly Mammoths to start this 7th inning. Smith, Whisker, and Barbie. And back out for his 3rd inning of work, Mr. Logan Gillespie out there on the hill. Starts Smith off with 2 fastballs that miss the zone away. Smith with a good hitter's count to start this 4th at-bat off. He's 0 for 3 with 2 flyouts to left and a swing and miss strikeout that ended the 2nd inning. And for the 3rd consecutive time, Gillespie missing the zone away, this time a little bit higher as well. Smith, you wonder if maybe your team's up by 4 late in the game, nobody on. Of course, you want to get that leadoff runner on anyway, but we'll see if he's given the green light here. Instead, looks at called strike 1. That one darts down into the zone, brings the count to 3-1 on the batter, the man out of Salem, Oregon. 306 batting average coming into play today. He hits a hard ground ball, chopped over to the right side. Easy play, though, for Sebastian Diaz. A 4-3 putout is recorded, 1 up and 1 down to start the 7th. But Jackson Smith, like we just mentioned, an 0 for 4 day with the 2 flyouts, the strikeout, and now that ground out to shortstop. But how about these next 3 batters? Ethan Whisker standing here now from the right side. 2 walks, a double, and 2 runs scored. Jake Barbie, who's on deck, a double, a single, a hit by pitch, 2 runs scored. And then Pagano with that 3-run homer back in the 1st inning, put these Mammoths out in front early. We were checking to see down that first baseline. Josh McAdams went as far as he possibly could to try and make that catch on that popped foul ball, but instead it falls into the dugout where the Mammoths lie, and he had made it as far as he possibly could have went, stopped right at the fence that protects those players down in the first baseline. So Whisker down in the count here, 0-1 to start with that foul ball. Whisker with a .323 average coming into play today, and I talked with Matt Derry, our ESPN3 color commentator and in-game host, time and time again here at the ballpark throughout each and every game here, and he says that Whisker is the guy with probably the most promise as far as a position player is concerned. He hits a high fly ball out to right field, a rough jump out there for Cameron Coons, but he ends up corralling himself underneath it to make the play for out number 2, and 2 up, 2 down here for Logan Gillespie and company. A ground out and then a pop or a fly out, but that's the first time Whisker has been retired. Not an easy thing to do here in the USPBL, but Jake Barbie, who had a .114 batting average coming into play today, having the game of his life so far, at least from the professional standpoint. The double and a run scored in the 1st, the single and the run scored in the 3rd, and then was hit by that pitch after a little bit of controversy. Ethan Whisker was on second base when he was, in fact, hit by that pitch as he looks at ball 1. Change-up missing low. Whisker was on second base when Barbie was hit by that pitch. The ball had trailed off and far away from home plate. The home plate umpire and his partner weren't necessarily sure if it hit him or not, and because of it, Whisker had came around 180 feet to score, as Thomas Lacongo, the catcher, had no idea where the ball went. But after a conversation between the 2 umpires, they had said that it in fact did hit Barbie, so Whisker had to go all the way back to second, and it ended up being the correct call. And not only that, but this pitcher, Mr. Gillespie, had gotten a 3 straight recording of 3 straight outs. He recorded a out against Pagano, Lawson, and Dundon after the leadoff double, and then hit by pitch for these Mammoths in the 5th inning. A 1-2-3-6 leads to this 7th. And quickly after starting Barbie off with 2 straight balls, back-to-back strikes here for Gillespie. He's looking to get his 2nd consecutive 1-2-3 inning. 2-2 pitch, fouled off, getting a little piece of Lacongo there behind home plate. You see the home plate umpire, Mr. Gary Wagenschutz, doing his job as the umpire, showing his respect to the guy that protects him. Lacongo took a nice piece of skin on that one. Has to take a second to collect himself, but he seems to be just fine. Wagenschutz heads back towards home plate, puts the mask back on. So everybody ready to go here as Barbie looking to reach base safely for the 4th time today. If he can get a triple or a home run, he'll be just 1 hit short of the cycle. As this 2-2 pitch delivered, fastball swung on and missed. Nice pitch there from Gillespie. Counted his 4th strikeout of the outing. Back-to-back 1-2-3 innings for Gillespie have retired the Mammoths. And we head to the home half of the 7th. It's stretch time here at Jimmy John's Field. If you're at home, take a stretch, get up out of your seat, and get ready for the home half. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland here with you. A 5-1 lead for the Westside Woolly Mammoths. Have them out in front as we head to the home half of the 7th inning. It'll be Kevin Watley, Johnny Knight IV, and Cody Rudisilli due up for these Hoppers to start the home half of this frame. New arm on the mound for these Mammoths as Jake Angus's night is done. He goes 6 innings, allows just the 1 earned run on just 4 hits. He had allowed just 1 hit through the first 5 frames, 2 walks in total, and 5 strikeouts for the starting pitcher. And he now gives way to another starting pitcher for these Mammoths, a guy who's coming into his first relief appearance on the season, Mr. Travis McQueen out of Radford University in Richmond, Virginia. 2nd season for the right-hander, the 6'2", 215-pounder. Watley, meanwhile, on the 1-1 pitch, hits one high and deep out to right center field. At the track, at the wall, Ethan Whisker with a great catch and a great route to that baseball. Not an easy play. And I talk about Whisker and how much of a 5-tool player that he is. Not only is he 1 for 2 on the night with a double, 2 walks, and 2 runs scored, but he's also doing a great job out there manning the right field position for these Mammoths day in and day out. And it just goes to show the type of player that he is. That ball was hit deep into that right center gap, and Whisker went about as far as he possibly could, making that catch on the run at the track right in front of the wall. Nobody happier than Travis McQueen as he records the first out of his day with that fly out to right. Johnny Knight IV, meanwhile, standing in 0 for 2 on the day with a couple of ground outs. 1 to the left side and 1 to the right side. Grounded out to Jalen Lawson back in the 3rd, and then grounded out to Andrew Dundon back in the 5th. So looking for his first hit of the day is Johnny Knight IV, but not with that swing. That breaking ball too much for Johnny as he swings and misses at that one that misses the zone. But for Mr. Travis McQueen, he had 18 games and 56 2/3 innings pitched in 2017. Had a 2-3 record, also had a save under his belt. He allowed 60 hits in those 56 innings, allowed just 16 walks to 42 strikeouts. Quite a differential there for the big fella. And then this year, a 2-3 record through 5 games, 24 innings pitched with 34 hits allowed, just 9 walks and 14 strikeouts. As Johnny Knight IV on the 2-2 pitch pops one up and out of the fair territory as Jake Barbie comes underneath it to make the catch in foul territory. 2 up and 2 down here for these Hoppers to start the 7th inning, and a really nice job here from Travis McQueen, who's in a role that he's not certainly used to coming out of the pen. First pitch to the new batter, Cody Rudisilli. Ball misses the zone. This time, outer half of the plate, called strike by our home plate umpire. Count evens at 1-1. Rudisilli, our 1-800-Hanson's player of the game, still yet to get a base hit, so fans still waiting for that gift card. As the 1-1 effort, a slider misses the zone. It was that pitch that we saw Johnny Knight IV chase after for the second strike of his at-bat, but Rudisilli doing his part to lay off that slider, but couldn't do it this time. The 81-mile-an-hour breaking ball in there for the exact same pitch. And fool me once, shame on me, or shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. As Rudisilli doesn't get tricked on the first opportunity, but does right there. The count even at 2-2. Still looking for his first base knock. Here it comes. There's the slider once again. This time inside, in on the hands, and he can only do the only thing he could with it. Hits it foul down that left field line, but remains alive here in this count. This one back up the middle. It actually hits Mr. McQueen in the leg, and he looks to be fine just now. A really nice stretch there from Jake Barbie to retire Rudisilli, but we'll keep an eye on McQueen, make sure he's doing all right. But a 1-2-3 inning for him retires the Hoppers in the 7th as they trail it 5-1. We head to the 8th. Mammoths coming up to the plate. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland here with you. And how about the day we're seeing from Mr. Logan Gillespie? Devin Alexander, the starter for the Eastside Diamond Hoppers, only goes 4 innings, allows 5 earned runs on just 4 hits and 3 walks. But Logan Gillespie out here for his longest outing and stint of the season. He had a couple outings where he went 3 innings, but that's as far as we've seen him go this year. So this, in fact, the longest that Gillespie has been able to hurl it out on the mound for the Hoppers this year. Of course, his team's trailing 5-1, but all 5 of those runs coming in the first 3 innings against the starter, Alexander. And he has really been able to limit the damage, and he's done a great job to keep these Mammoths at bay here with just the 5 runs. But the man at the plate now, Mr. Tyler Pagano, got the game started with that 3-run homer back in the first, and the Mammoths really have never looked back since then. The count going to 2-2 as that 1-2 pitch doesn't break over the heart of the zone. Pagano ready for the 2-2. Gillespie kicks, delivers. That breaking ball looked like it missed just a bit low. You saw that long look and head tilts from Mr. Gillespie, looking like JJ a little bit with that head nod, but instead, Pagano looks at that one to bring the count full. He looks like he's ready to swing here on the payoff pitch, and he is. That one fouled off into the protective netting, and a really good pitch right there from Gillespie. In on the hands of Pagano, but still good enough for a strike. Pumping it in there, mid-90s, and Pagano can't do anything with it but foul it off, but he stays alive at least for another one. Payoff pitch once again, this time in on the hands again, and a line drive hit over to Sebastian Diaz at second base. Another really nice jam job there from Logan Gillespie, and for the 3rd consecutive time, Tyler Pagano is retired. So a good start to the day for Pagano, but he just cannot keep it going. But either way, he has driven in 3 of the 5 runs on the day for these Mammoths, and he's done enough. Just matter of time before this one's all said and done. Logan Gillespie back out to work. Jalen Lawson on the day, 0 for 3 with 2 groundouts to the first baseman, Josh McAdams. And then he struck out looking in the 5th. Count 1-0 on the batter. This one lined out to right field. It's going to be a tough one there for Cameron Coons. Rounding first, heading to second. Wheeling there is Jalen Lawson, and he will stand up at second base with the 1-out double. Nice piece of hitting right there, and that's the first hit that we've seen from the Mammoths since the 6th inning when Fiesel singled, but was then eventually caught stealing, trying to take second base. So the first hit of the day for Lawson, and that might be it for Gillespie. There is action in that Eastside bullpen. Looks as if Keaton Aldridge is getting some work down there. Forrest Kumis, the assistant coach of these Eastside Diamond Hoppers, former player with the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers. But Gillespie sitting in here now at 51 pitches, clearly the longest outing that he's had all year, but it's been his best as well. I mentioned how Gillespie on the season, he's been able to limit the damage for the most part in every outing. His first outing back on May the 12th, he allowed just the 1 earned run. His most previous outing on June the 17th, he allowed 3 earned runs. But with the 7 relief appearances in between those 2, he did not allow any runs at all, no runs at all, or earned either. And he's trying to keep that tally going here today in his longest outing of the season. But he has been really sharp out there. Lawson remains at second base with that double. Andrew Dundon standing in, down in the count here quickly, 0-2 as he swings and misses at that last pitch. He's 1 for 3 on the day. A fly out to center, a 2 RBI single that drove in Whisker and Barbie in the 3rd, and then he struck out swinging to end the 5th. That was the 2nd strikeout of the day for Gillespie. This one chopped over to the left side. A tough hop there for the 3rd baseman, Lance Montano, and he, for the 2nd time today, will have a little bit of a kerfuffle over there and Reaching the base on the error is Andrew Dundon. So an E5 in the books will keep this one going, but not the worst scenario, as now there's a force out at any bag. And Drew Kitson will stand in here now with 1 out and 2 men on. So Logan Gillespie and the Hoppers trying to not allow the Mammoths to get any more insurance runs here in this game as they trail it by 4 runs. Gillespie trying to bring that breaking ball in there at 79 miles an hour. You see him making a motion with his hand after he released it. You could clearly tell that slider did not break over the plate. So something with the mechanics didn't go right there for Gillespie. Kitson ahead in the count, 1-0. Fastball in there on the inside part of the plate for a called strike. Kitson on the season batting just .220 so far, but as of late he's done fairly well at the plate. He's got 2 hits in his last 3 games, and in his last contest, or his last 2 contests against the Diamond Hoppers, he's got a hit in each of those. Just the 1 home run on the season for Kitson. That was back on June the 1st against the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers. Down in this count quickly here, 1-2. Gillespie trying to limit the damage. The 1-2 pitch. Fastball in there at 91 miles an hour. Kitson, though, gets a piece of it and fouls it off into the grandstands to our right. Lucky souvenir for a fan right there. Mentioned it's Sunday Fun Day at the ballpark. Final game of the weekend here at Jimmy John's Field. We'll be back in action on the 28th, this upcoming Thursday. It'll be Thirsty Thursday, presented by Dave & Buster's, but not only that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have a human cannonball in attendance getting shot off, something you don't see every day, and then it'll also be Greek American Heritage Night, as Jalen Lawson was a little eager out there on the base pass. Gillespie took notice of it, and Sebastian Diaz went to cover the bag as well, but no throw as he was not covering the bag in time. So Lawson stays alive out there on the base pass, at least for now. Kitson trying to stay alive in the count. It's 1-2. Gillespie with a short look to Lawson. This ball sat on, hit to right center field. Out there is Rudisili. Moving from second to third is Lawson. So an out goes down for Kitson, but it's at least a productive one as Lawson moves up 90 feet closer to scoring. Runners are now on the corners. So on third is Lawson. On first is Dundon, who reached on that error. And now Alec Allred stands in. I mentioned how it's Thirsty Thursday coming up when the Eastside Diamond Hoppers play against the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers coming up on the 28th of June. And then Friday, of course, our Xfinity Fireworks presentation. That'll be the Unicorns and Hoppers on Friday. And then Saturday's game, WCSX Classic Rock Saturday. We'll have the Eagles Tribute Band out on the Dana St. Clair soundstage. This ball hit on a line to center field, but with that speed, Cody Rudisili comes underneath it to make the catch for the third and final out. Mammoths can't get any runs, even though they threaten in the top of the 8th. We head to the home half. They remain out in front by a score of 5-1. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland here with you. We head to the home half of the 8th inning. Westside Woolly Mammoths out in front of the Eastside Diamond Hoppers 5-1, but the Hoppers quickly trying to get back in this game. Thomas Lukongo looking for his second hit of the contest, and in fact he gets it. That's his second single of the day, and he gets the leadoff single for the Hoppers here in the home half of the 8th, which they desperately needed, especially with Lukongo at the bottom of the order. We head back to the top with Patrick Adams standing in at the plate, but Travis McQueen's night is done. He goes the inning of relief, faces 3 batters, allows no hits, no runs, no hits, and no strikeouts. He gets a fly out, a pop out, and a ground out accordingly. As now Patrick Adams stands in. He faces off against the new arm for these Westside Woolly Mammoths. It's Clifton Landis III, as Patrick Adams swings and misses at the first pitch he sees. Clifton Landis III in his second appearance in relief for these Westside Woolly Mammoths on the season. The 6'7", 185-pounder out of Carleton, Michigan. Same home as, I believe, Mr. Nico Lolio, who's playing out there in Sweden as we speak. Landis III on the season with that one relief appearance. It was back on June the 16th against the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers, where he had went 2 innings, didn't allow any hits, didn't allow any runs, didn't allow any walks, and had a strikeout to his credit. And he only faced the minimum, the 6 batters in the 2 innings, as Adams fouls off another one, stays alive here in this count. Clifton Landis III coming to us from Madonna University. How about these numbers? A 2.85 ERA in his 4 seasons from 2014 to 2018, pitching with the Madonna Athletics. Of course, Madonna, home of the Crusaders, as Patrick Adams holds off on that pitch, the 0-2, but just by a hair. Base umpire says that he did not, in fact, go around. But in the senior season for Clifton Landis III, 30 relief appearances with a 4-1 win-loss record. Had 11 saves to his credit in 48 innings pitched. He allowed just 35 hits, 10 earned runs, 1 home run, 15 walks to 42 strikeouts. And speaking of strikeouts, Patrick Adams goes down for out number 1. That's a big out there for Clifton Landis, a much-needed out after allowing the batter to start this inning off, Thomas Lukongo, with a single to right. In this home half of the 8th inning, Cameron Coons in his second plate appearance on the day. He had entered in for Christian Luthi as well as Roman Hugie, the 2 players from Switzerland. Of course, the Hornison players. A couple of guys not used to playing baseball, but mentioned a couple of times in the broadcast how, as a part of the Swedish-European television show called Job Swap, 2 players from our league in Sweden, Jack Kraft and Nico Lolio, playing in a Hornison game, which has been played ever since the 16th century, so it goes way back. But Christian, the man that Cameron Coons, who stands in now, has pinch hit for, he has the longest hit in Hornison history with a 180-foot hit. Roman, his partner who had led this game off, actually grounded out to third base once, had a 150-foot long hit. And their home team called the Hornisser Gesellschaft Hostjessen. Hope that's pronounced right. Probably isn't, but you're going to give your best effort when you can. Coons, meanwhile, hitting a high fly ball out there into shallow right center field. Corralling underneath it is Drew Kitson, the center fielder, taking charge for out number 2. Got JJ, the field general, out there doing his job, picking up the loose ball. That's a good boy right there. 3 up and 2 down. Over there on first base remains Lukongo, who had the leadoff single. Josh McAdams now standing in. McAdams on the day, a single, a walk, and a flyout. McAdams, of course, coming into play today, leading this entire league with a .385 batting average. He's got 2 home runs coming into play today. This ball fouled off of, it looked to be the front leg of McAdams. A hard ground ball, or it would have been a hard ground ball. Turns into a slow roller back to pitcher's mound, but McAdams clearly in a little bit of pain right there as that one makes contact with the shin, the foot, something down there. He's grabbing that left foot. He's got the protective guard on it, but no matter what, you're hitting that ball pretty darn hard, and even with that shin guard there, still not going to feel good if you do, in fact, make contact. McAdams trying to get these hoppers back in this one. If he hits a home run, he'll cut the lead in half. Out there on the bump, Clifton Landis the third. The pitch, fastball in there at 88 miles an hour. Misses the zone high, but looked as if maybe that was where he wanted to place it. Try and force McAdams to chase after one that missed the zone high, but a better job from McAdams to hold off on it. 1-2 pitch, sliding out of the way. Evens this count up at 2-2. Jackson Smith gave a slow look over there to Jake Barbie. Thought about maybe trying to catch Thomas Lacongo sleeping, but instead holds on to it, and it looks like he'll just allow Mr. Landis to try and finish this one himself. McAdams ready for it. The 2-2 pitch. Breaking ball swung on and missed. Swinging out of his shoes was McAdams, and that's the second strikeout of the inning for Mr. Landis, and that is the third and final out. We head to the ninth. Mammoths coming up in what looks to be their final at-bat of the day. We head to the ninth. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland here with you. We head to this final frame. It'll be the 9, 1, and 2 hitters due up for the Westside Woolly Mammoths. New arm out on the bump for the Eastside Diamond Hoppers. Logan Gillespie, what a relief appearance he had He goes the 4 innings in relief, allows no runs on 3 hits, had no walks and 4 strikeouts against the 16 batters that he faced. Really nice outing there from Gillespie. Now on the bump for the Eastside Diamond Hoppers, Mr. Keaton Aldridge. Aldridge starts off Fiesel with a strike, but then Fiesel hitting one down into the down into the corner. He was thinking about third as he was getting ready to round it, but Shane McCaddy, our manager of the Westside Woolly Mammoths, holds Fiesel at second base, and that's a second consecutive hit for that young man right there. Leadoff double keeps it going here for these Mammoths, and Aldridge was pointing somewhere. It looked as if maybe he left that pitch a little bit more up. Jackson Smith now with an opportunity with a base runner on. Flew out to left field twice, struck out, swinging in the second, grounded out to Sebastian Diaz back in the 7th inning. So Jackson Smith, as I look through this Westside Woolly Mammoth lineup, Jackson Smith, Drew Kitson, and Alec Allred, the 3 batters in this Westside lineup, yet to have a hit today. Allred reached on a base on balls in the 2nd inning, and then Jalen Lawson had a double back in the 8th inning. But Jackson Smith, the only Westside Woolly Mammoth to not reach base safely other than Drew Kitson. Both of those gentlemen over 4 on the day. But Smith with a good eye up there at the plate. He's looked at 2 straight. Keaton Aldridge in his 10th relief appearance on the season for these Eastside Diamond Hoppers. 8 of his 9 outings were just the 1 inning, as this one is lined out there to second base. Sebastian Diaz, he's made a couple of those catches where the right-handers are getting jammed in on the hands, which goes to show the attention of the pitchers for the Eastside Diamond Hoppers, doing a good job fighting off these righties, keeping the ball inside and on the hands. And Smith lines one out to Diaz for out number 1, as Ethan Whisker stands in, was 1 for 1 on the night with a double, 2 walks, and 2 runs scored before his last at-bat, where he flew out to the right fielder Cameron Coons. Whisker, a hometown product, coming to us from Hillsdale College, where he holds plenty of records. I believe it's like 6 or 7 offensive records for Hillsdale College. Only a matter of time before we see records being broke by him here in the USPBL with the way that he's been hitting the ball. This one hit high. Looks like it's going to be enough to get out of play. In fact, is. And that one will hit the top of our cover. That covers the last couple of rows of the grandstands. Whisker quickly down in this count, 0-2, trying to avoid his first strikeout of the day. Aldridge with 13 strikeouts and 9 relief appearances, just the 7 walks, but trying to get that 5.40 ERA down a bit. Whisker ready for the 0-2. Aldridge with a slow look to Fiesel at second. This ball hit back up the middle, and it'll end up falling for a single. Thomas Fiesel, though, got crossed up by Cody Rudicilli's glove, as he had stuck his glove out while he was running in, pretending to make the catch, but it falls shallow for that single. Fiesel kind of froze halfway from second to third, which you're supposed to do on a line drive. Base runner's supposed to freeze on a line drive with less than 2 outs. So Fiesel was playing smart, trying to make sure he doesn't get doubled off at second base, and a good job there by Rudicilli to not allow Fiesel to come in to score. So he reaches third base. Over there on first is Whisker. Runners on the corners now for these Mammoths. Still just the 1 out on the board. Jake Barbie standing in. He's got a double, a single, a hit by pitch, and a strikeout so far. But boy, could the Hoppers use a double play here. Fastball outside corner called strike. Starts this count off 0-1 on Barbie. This one lined out to left field this time. Instead of a drop, it comes in, and we might have a play at the plate. Johnny Knight, the fourth, with a hard throw, but just offline and to the left. That is your play at the plate, your Make Macomb your home play at the plate. Jake Barbie with a sacrifice fly out to left, drives in a run, and incoming to score is Thomas Fiesel. So the Westside Woolly Mammoths getting their 6th run of the game. Nice insurance run right there. Whisker, meanwhile, stays at first base, doesn't tag on the throw. So Barbie drives in the run, and that'll bring up Mr. Tyler Pagano, who had that 3-run homer back in the first. So Pagano responsible for half of the runs that have scored in this game today. Trying to drive in maybe 1 or 2 more with this at-bat. He takes a big cut, though, at the first pitch he sees. Pagano, aforementioned, from Pickerington, Ohio. Designated hitter here today, listed as a first baseman and outfielder, but he has found a really nice home here, doing nothing but swinging the bat for these Mammoths as he looks at ball 1. Pagano leads this team with 3 home runs. Ethan Whisker, the man over at first base, leading this team with 22 hits. That might be good enough for the league lead now with that base knock here in this 9th. We take a look at our league leaders in hits as we take a look at some of these stats here, pulling it up as we speak on our Point Streak website. On the season, leading the charge for the USPBL. How about that? Carter Grote having quite the season, 25 hits in just 19 games. But Ethan Whisker now with 22 hits, good enough for 2nd in the league. Josh McAdams up there as well. He's at 21 hits with the 1 hit today. But Pagano doing a good job right there, earning the 2-out walk. Brings runners to first and second. Pagano can't get any lumber on the bat or on the ball, excuse me, but does reach base safely with the eyes. As Aldrich will look like he'll be finishing this ball game for the Hoppers on the mound. Nobody getting loose in that bullpen as we speak. There is a catcher and what I believe to be a pitcher sitting at the foot of the bullpen, so maybe somebody had already gotten loose and is ready to go in at a moment's notice. Jalen Lawson, meanwhile, standing at the plate, was 0 for 3 coming into the previous 8th inning where he had hit a double in the gap. Lawson ready for the breaking ball, a hard ground ball, hit to the left side, and making the play with the force out at third is Mr. Lance Montano, and we're through 8.5 here at Jimmy John's Field. Diamond Hoppers will need 5 to keep this one going. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the home half of the ninth we go. Eastside Diamond Hoppers trailing the Westside Woolly Mammoths by 5 runs as we head to this bottom half of the final frame. It'll be Mr. Lance Montano, Mr. Sebastian Diaz, and Mr. Kevin Watley, the 4, 5, 6 hitters due up for these Eastside Diamond Hoppers in their final attempt at the plate. Clifton Landis III, the man out of Madonna University, goes the inning strong in relief. Makes that just 1 inning appearance, allows 1 hit, no runs, no walks, and 2 strikeouts. He now gives way to the left-hander, Mr. Mike McGee, coming to us out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, of course, home of the 2018 Super Bowl champion Eagles. McGee on the season, the left-hander, with 6 relief appearances, a 1-0 record through 5 1/3 innings pitched. Does have a save under his belt as the 1-1 pitch misses the zone high and away to Montano. He's allowed just 2 hits in the 6 games, 7 walks to 7 strikeouts. That ERA sitting just above 5, so he'll try and get that down as he looks to shut the door here. This one, a fly ball out to dead center field. Kitson underneath it, and he makes the catch for out number 1. And for a guy like Mike McGee, standing at just 6'1", but throwing from that left side, more of a crafty individual, but it's been working so far for him. He allowed the 3 earned runs on the season back on May the 19th against the Utica Unicorns, where he allowed all 3 earned runs, where he had walked 3, didn't give up any hits in that contest, and then that were the only earned runs he's given up all season long. Outside of that, he did allow 2 runs back on June the 13th against the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers, but those 2 runs, neither of them were earned, and he actually ended up getting his sole victory in that game. He struck out 2 in that performance against the 7 batters that he faced, but as far as against the Eastside Diamond Hoppers this year, he has only had 1 outing. That was back on June the 2nd, where he had went an inning strong, had 3 strikeouts, so he struck out the side against the Hoppers back in his only outing against them this year. Montano, who led the inning off, flew out to center. Sebastian Diaz, meanwhile, brings the count to 2-1 as he looks at ball 2 that misses outside. Diaz on the day still looking for his first hit. Reached base safely on a fielder's choice back in the 4th inning, but he reached because McAdams had been recorded via an out via the 6-4 put out at second base that ended that frame. Diaz ready for the 3-1. Fastball, 2-seamer outside corner, called for a strike. And the count has rung full. We'll see what happens as the Jaws music commences. Payoff pitch, called strike 3. Diaz tries to get out of the way of it, but it stayed over the zone. Nice call right there from our home plate umpire, Mr. Gary Wagenschutz. That backwards K in the books. Second strikeout of the day for number 2, Mr. Sebastian Diaz. And Mike McGee looking to get a perfect 1-2-3 frame to close the door here for the Mammoths, who look to get their 9th win of the season. Mentioned coming into play today, our standings in the USPBL through our what looks to be our final game of our 6th weekend here at the ballpark. The Eastside Diamond Hoppers sitting at 9-7, the Unicorns sitting at 9-10, the Mammoths at 8-8, the Beavers at 9-10. So everybody, for the most part, right around near each other. As this ball misses the zone, 2 straight that have missed the zone to Kevin Watley. But all around, I mean, the Eastside Diamond Hoppers on a 3-game losing streak, on the verge of losing maybe their 4th straight if they cannot get 5 runs here in this 9th. The 3rd straight pitch to Watley misses the zone. The Unicorns, meanwhile, 9-10. They lost their previous game just yesterday against the Beavers in a 10-3 affair. Watley dodges out of the way of that one, reaches first base safely on the base on balls. McGee will continue to pitch here. And then on the west side, the Mammoths looking to get their 9th victory of the year. They're at 8-8 on the season. The Beavers at 9-10. Mammoths trying to get their 2nd consecutive win. They're 4-6 in their last 10, though. Crowd starting to get on their feet here at Jimmy John's Field. Getting hyped for the finale of this one. You got the Swedish players trying to pump up the crowd for the finish of this one. The Swedish television show Job Swamp trying to get their final shots in for their television show that will be aired, I believe, within the next month over there in Sweden. Jalen Lawson ends up tagging Kevin Watley, who was running towards second base, and that, in fact, will do it. Your final score here, Mammoths beat the Hoppers 6-1. Hoppers drop to 9-8, lose their 4th straight game. And then as far as the Mammoths go, they win their 2nd straight, move to 9-8 on the year. Jake Angus goes 6 innings strong, gets the victory. Devin Alexander for the Eastside Diamond Hoppers can only go 4 innings, allows 5 earned runs on 4 hits, gave up 3 walks, did have 4 strikeouts to the 19 batters that he faced, but the 3-run homer from Tyler Pregame in the first, the 2 RBI single from Andrew Dundon in the third, and then that 1 more insurance run in the top of the 9th on that RBI sac fly from Jake Barbie did the damage for the Mammoths. Hoppers getting their only run in the 6th inning on an RBI base knock from Cameron Coons. And then as far as the rest of this one goes, it was a good pitching matchup to start. In the end, Jake Angus gets his first victory of the season. That ERA coming into play today, a 1.76. Just the 3rd start of the season for Angus, and he does well and gets that first victory. That's it for this weekend here at Jimmy John's Field. We will be seeing you on Thursday at the ballpark. Mentioned coming up to round out this month of June at Jimmy John's Field, we will have the Eastside Diamond Hoppers and Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers in the game. It'll be Thirsty Thursday presented by Dave & Buster's. Not only that, it'll be Greek American Heritage Night. And not only that, Mr. JJ, the field general, who joins me up in the booth now, but we will have a human cannonball in attendance, and he's going to get shot out of a cannonball into the air. If you don't have any plans for Thursday and you're either in the state of Michigan or you want to make a trip, maybe see some of your boys come out and play, and we would love to have you here at the park, especially if you haven't been here before. But my name's Rich Borland. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, was on the call alone here today with you, and I hope you had a good time listening in, tuning in, and for the 6th official weekend in the books here at Jimmy John's Field. My name's Rich Borland. You stay classy, Utica.